Auld Lang Syne, the traditional New Year's song. This is playable on a RAV or any handpan that's a major or Sabye. I've got 9 notes here. You might have a slightly different arrangement, but hopefully by using my numbering system, you can figure out how to play it on your pan, whether you've got a D or not. If your pan isn't in D, just write out all the notes 1 to 7 with whatever you've got and match them up so you can work out how to play it, or look up at my hands and follow along as we go. Can't wait to see all the versions that you come up with for this. Don't forget to share them, tag me, and all of that kind of stuff. We're going to start off by sketching out the tune for Auld Lang Syne. Starts off down here. Piece is in D major, it ends on a D, and that's the kind of home key, chord 1, tonic chord. Now you might have noticed that when we got to this note down here, it sounded a little bit off. This is one of the issues with playing a handpan or a tongue pan, is we've got a limited number of notes, so we can't always have the right octave or sound to it. But there's a few ways around it. Firstly, level 1 is just play that note. Our ears know the tune, so we kind of know what you're going for, and we fill in the gaps. We should have that note up there, but if we don't have it, we can just play the low one. Option 2 is to go for a harmonic. So this is covering a part of the note, so only the higher octave or the higher note rings through. Each of these notes is a really complicated sound with lots of different octaves and harmonics happening in it. So what we're doing is we're covering off some of them and only going for the ones that we want. In this case, the highest one. Normally it sounds like this. But when we cover up part of the note, I find it works to put my thumb just right up in between the 2 wings and quite firmly. Do you see how I don't get all that complex sound? So that would sound like this. So that might take a bit of practice. Option 3 is borrow a high note. Borrow that B up off this other instrument. And that's the one that I went for, but it's totally up to you. If you've got multiple pans, you might find that you've got a spare B natural knocking around, or whatever the note is for your pan. So choose whichever one works for you. And that's our tune for our verse. Now let's have a look at our second half. And that high note, that high B, unfortunately, is really important. So that's why I chose to use a second pan. So let's sketch out that tune for that chorus of the Auld Lang Syne bit. Sometimes you need it to be high, and that's where I put a little apostrophe next to it to show it's high. Or sometimes we need the low version of the same note. Excellent. So that may well be enough. That's a brilliant thing to achieve. Should we have a go at playing the tune all the way through, nice and slow together? That tune is so important. It's got quite a lot of long notes or gaps in. So you'll notice it starts on an upbeat. It's in 4/4, but it doesn't start at the beginning of the bar. It starts on the beat before should, old. And the most important beat, the most strong beat is the first word, old acquaintance. So we count it like this. 1, 2, 3. Should, old, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. And with that tune, some of those notes don't come exactly on the beat. So you can play a more simplified version. Should old acquaintance be forgot and there. But it's kind of got almost a slightly lazier swing to it. It's a small thing, but trying to find that feel, there's quite a relaxed sense to it. A lot of singers, they play around with the timing a little bit. So try and really think about how the words go. There's kind of almost a relaxedness to it. Imagine you're sitting in a rocking chair next to a fire singing to a cat. Like, there's a sort of relaxedness about it, which is lovely. Once you've got the tune worked out, let's look at the chords. I'll be giving the chords for D major, but they work for any other pan, and they're just about the main chords there. So the first thing you need is D major, your chord 1. Should old acquaintance. Next chord is A, your chord 5. And now we go to chord 6, our minor chord. This is B minor. Major chord, and that is all the chords in the whole song. So we'll carry on. We've got should D, acquaintance, and then A, and then we change up our rhythm. We still have the same chords, B minor, G, and D, but we just shuffle through them a bit faster to land on D, on our tonic chord at the end of that sort of little phrase, little sentence. That happens so often in songs. It's the same 4 chords, but the first time it ends on a question mark, and the second time we shift through those chords to get to the answer quicker, and landing on that tonic. So look out for that in songs, you'll hear it loads. So the second half of that verse, it goes D, acquaintance, A, and then we go quickly now, B minor, G, and D, 2, 3, and D. Because we have that upbeat, that beat that comes before the bar, the chords actually don't exactly align with the words. We don't want to hear that big tonic chord on the should. We will hear that chord 1 on old. So it doesn't go should old acquaintance. It goes should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne. And we're moving through them nice and quick there. And then we get to our second half, our chorus, and it starts on a D, 4, same thing though, not on the 4, on the Auld. 4D, and then to A, and then D, and then now we're going to chord 4, G, back to chord 1, D, chord 5 is A, and then quickly now we have B minor, G, D. And we've got some different options there. We might accompany by playing every single beat of the bar. We know we're in 4/4, so that's going to be 4 on each chord. 1, 2, 3. Should 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm remembering that it goes twice as fast, that little turnaround at the end. But we might want to be even more adventurous with our accompaniment. So still using the notes from the chord of D, why don't you try a 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then we have to go 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And if we wanted to make it more funky, we could try a 1E and a 2, 3, 4 as our pattern. So should old acquaintance be forgot and never want to, with a different sort of a beat, like. play guitar, you'll be familiar with this idea of a strumming pattern, and that's the way that we play the chords to accompany the music. Some of them will feel more appropriate than others to this music, so play around and find one that suits. And you don't have to stick with the same one all the way through the piece. As you go, you can vary it up, maybe even bar to bar. But for now, pick one, stick with it, and see what you like. So have a little go at singing through with me, and I find that singing along with my playing is so helpful. I really don't consider myself a singer, but being able to put the notes of the tune in with the notes of the chords means that if you do work with someone else or you work with an instrumentalist, you know that you're putting the chords in exactly the right time. So even if you don't consider yourself a singer, have a go at singing along with me. If you're a man, you might need to sing down there. Should old acquaintance. Or your pan might be in a different key. But have a go at singing it and just take your time putting the words and the chords together. 1, 2, 3. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot quickly now? Be and lang syne, for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. And that may be where you want to stop as well if you're going to play with someone else, or you're going to sing for yourself, or a big group of revelers on New Year's Eve. That's a great amount to know. The final stage, I would say, is trying to put it all together. So here we're really trying to bring the tune out, the melody, nice and loud, while at the same time filling in those chords underneath. The main way to differentiate between tune and accompaniment is very simple. Play the tune louder and the accompaniment quieter. It does wonders for the ear. We've only got a limited amount of notes, but we want our mind to imagine that there's a voice and a whole piano or a whole harmony happening, even though it's all one instrument. And then A, B minor, G, and you stay there for D, and then A, and sometimes you can't play all of the notes in the melody and the chord at the same time. So just finding the ones that are most important to you and picking them out. And then the chorus. Play around with the speeds and the emphasis, and don't forget that chorus, for old lang syne, that's the bit that everyone sings, normally because it's the only bit everyone knows. So you can try and play with the dynamics to get some shape through that, moving towards and away from the important bits if you want to get into some phrasing. I hope that's useful. I can't wait to see all of your versions, and I hope you have a wonderful new year. Bye!